Thank you very much.
You know what I think? I bought this spray.
Puck told me about it. I need to go on Amazon and buy it.
Yeah, buy from Amazon.
Okay, yeah.
I just bought some Amazon today.
Yeah, they said it works for quite a
That's
while.
all. And you know what? It works for like a week or two. It's a long
Good,
time.
because I bump into walls without any
You know what
help.
I do? I clean with the regular cleaner first.
Okay.
So it's clean. And then I put the fat on top.
Okay, that's good to know.
His birthday is because I brought him to Boston.
You want to know when my birthday is?
Because they could do that to birthday.
But this
My
one,
birthday's in January.
so this one, since, yeah, with the mask on, I was always on that. Right? I'm perfect now. No, I bought it at the farm. It works. It does work.
It doesn't matter.
What breed?
And the fat for the glasses.
Yeah, because I breathe.
Because with the mask, it's like that.
So what is the product? What is
You
it?
can buy it from Amazon.
What is it called?
Enterprise, there are different brand names.
Like
Enterprise, and what you do is you clean the glasses first, so you surface, and then you put the fat on top. And it works for like a week or two. I mean, it's not like
Really? Fascinating. Okay.
I mean, I used to get fat every time.
Oh, every time I breathe, it gets funny.
Yeah, me too. But now I'm fine.
Do you know what helps, Mom? If you put your glasses over the mask instead of under it. So put your glasses,
Yeah, but I'm telling you, the Enterprise works.
Yeah, now put your glasses like you
How
can
many
sit
people
down
do
on
you
the
expect today?
50 maybe?
Oh, that's right. That's a lot.
It's great.
Good
That's what
for
Stewart said. I'm not sure if he meant to yet today or tomorrow.
You miss being in Chicago?
Do I miss being in Chicago? No. Well, I miss being with my family in Chicago. You know, but
We have family there, so
yeah. So I did. And are you saying like in general? Like, do you miss living in Chicago, or do you mean just like from when I was there
every
last
time
month?
I go back and visit, I love the lakefront.
Yeah.
I mean, it's old stomping grounds from when
Yeah.
I did the whole university.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I lived in Lincoln Park, and I worked there as a graduate student there. I was at the medical center at the time. It was a nice time in my life. So it's a happy
Yeah,
memory going
yeah.
back.
Yeah. No, I miss I miss the family.
Susie's family's from Glenview.
See, I grew up in Highland Park, so I'm not really. I did grow up in the city, you know. So, but now Preston lives in Rogers Park.
Yeah, right like Wrigley Field.
He lives right. He can walk into Evanston, where he is. He kind of lives near. I remember used to going that same way when I used to drop my grandmother off. So yeah, he's there. You know, my mom's still in Highland Park area. My sister, but yeah, I mean, it was hard because I was there for 2 weeks this summer, and that was great. But I knew that all the stuff was going on in my house back here while I was there.
Did everything come out fantastic?
Well, okay, literally down to the wire. I was able to use the kitchen for the first time Friday afternoon.
Wow.
But it's only going to be temporary because they found, I also found some nicks and scratches and dents in the the quartz, the countertops. They all have to be replaced. All
They're
of
going
them.
to have to replace the whole thing. They can't put some kind of filler in there.
They could, but there's too many spots.
And you paid a lot of money for it.
So that means they're also going to have to take out the bottom layer of the backsplash, the tile backsplash, as well as the sink and the faucet. And then some of the cabinets didn't bound to the paint right, so all the cabinets are going to be painted too. So basically, it's going to, yeah, we're going to have another remodel after this So I'll get to use it for. I said not until it's too cold. So I want to get to the holidays first. I need to cook in that kitchen. It's lovely. It was just, it was like it's just wonderful to be in there. But knowing that it's going to be like a mess again in a month. It's hard, but it'll be, but this way it'll be fixed. And it was my contractor that really kind of suggested that we do the whole thing. No. Hopefully it'll only be like a week or two. They don't have to replace the floor. The floor's good, so you'll still be able to do laundry in there.
Par for the course.
But yeah, it's been, all those things that you always say was going to happen with a remodel, and things always go wrong. And this time, like, I literally have heard 3 times from different people that have been working on my house. This is the first time this has ever happened to me. I'm like, I bet you say that to all your clients. But it is beautiful.
You're in, and that's all that matters.
And everything else is unpacked. The rest of the house is pretty much done. We're actually building a sukkah. He's extending. We have a porch. Yes? Yes.
During your announcements this evening, please remind everyone of the confidence in lieu of the reception sisterhood is provided.
Oh, I got it.
And I'll leave.
Go Bags. Go Bags.
Go, baby.
Tootsie Rolls.
Seeing you two side by side, I see the familiar.
It's the same eyes.
Yeah.
They have the same eyes. Yeah. Anyway, but thanks for asking. It is beautiful. How's everything in your neck of the woods? I guess not. That's why I'm standing here. Oh, is it? Oh, I'm not saying anything that shouldn't be said. Yeah, it's hot, Mike. Hi, guys! Mazel tov in person. How is the baby? How old is she now? 5 months already?
Yeah, she was born in March.
Oh my goodness.
I've seen you on Zoom.
Yeah, so she was 3 weeks old.
Oh wow. Wow. What? More? Well, that's good.
I'm good. I had my third shot.
You had a third shot?
Yeah. I finally put my
Oh, so jealous.
But I think it doesn't matter because in Canada, they release it 2 days before if you get
I didn't know. I didn't know. And somebody said, they're going to England next month. Yeah.
I'm not talking, so
Well, because. No. I'm no dummy.
no.
How are you?
How are you?
As a student said to me, I'm so excited to see your whole body.
You guys met at the Holocaust Museum? Yeah.
door cover off and put it back on, you know. And then when people finish their aliyah, they're not going to stand by you. You just tell them to go. Just tell them to, you know, no hot
I
bugs.
was talking to Stuart earlier this weekend, that we don't want to turn our services into a super spreader.
No. No, no, no. Okay. Shana Tova. One, two, three, 16. It's supposed to be 40 tonight? Or 50?
When I talked to Teresa, she said we
Okay.
The one that really makes the difference is over here. The one that makes the difference is over here.
Why are you closing the doors? You don't have to keep the doors closed. No. Just tell people to when they're outside. Let's keep the air flowing. Maybe we should. Mike, can we open that door too? Like just one of the doors there, just so we can just get some cross ventilation. Thanks.
maybe someday. Maybe someday.
No.
It's a long way
I
around.
asked the president. I'm not a sugar like Stuart.
I'm the sugar.
Do the job twice. No.
Oh, good to see you. Shana Tova. Yeah. 7:30, right?
It's
someone doing the live stream? Is that being taken care of from somewhere? Who's live streaming? Who's responsible for the live stream? Is he here? It's on? Okay. All right. Shana Tova, everyone. It's 7:30, and we're going to get started. No Jewish Standard Time for us. No. We're going to be New Year's resolution number 1, start things on time. Well, I want to welcome all of you, either for the first time or back again, or for the first time maybe this year. We all had high hopes that we would gather together, relatively restriction and protocol free, but Delta had other plans. Yeah. So although it's not ideal, I'm still thankful that some of you have been able to join us today, masked and vexed, and that others who are unable to be here physically in our sanctuary can be spiritually with us today, thanks to the wonders of live stream. Just a few housekeeping details before we get started. For the protection of all, please make sure that you're diligent about keeping your mask over your nose and mouth. And if you need to take it off for a bit, feel free to just go outside in the parking lot, go get a breath of fresh air, and well, I don't know how fresh it is, but get a breath of air, and then come and rejoin us when you're able. I'd like to begin with a prayer from a machzor that I will be referencing periodically during these holy days. It's called Mishkan HaNefesh. It's the Reform movement's seed. It's wonderful. This machzor is just beautiful. They have actually 2, one for Rosh HaShana and a separate one for Yom Kippur. And it contains some really lovely, moving words of insight and inspiration. So I'm going to be quoting them periodically. So I'm going to begin with this reflection called This Autumn Night. It was inspired by a hymn for the new year by Rabbi David Einhorn. This autumn, well, I should probably say summer, night, the shades of darkness in the sky are signs of Earth's turning, the fleeting ways of nature. And we, drawn together in this holy house, filled with New Year's hope and light, turn our hearts toward you in prayer and worship, seeking life's essence. In the presence of your love, we feel the nearness of those who bless our lives, even in death. Precious memories of their love restore our strength, renew our faith in life's goodness. We acknowledge with gratitude the life you have given us, the bounty that sustains us, your comfort in sickness and sorrow, your compassion in valleys of despair. God of years, God of eternity, bless us now and always. Bless our homes and our families. Be with us in our dreams and in our hopes. Be with us through these days of awe as we search our souls within and seek the lasting shelter of your love. I'd like to invite Kathy Freisinger up to help us light the Yontif candles. And we'll begin with a reading, a candlelight meditation. Candlelighting, if you'd like, is on page 86. You can leave that door open, David. We don't have to shut it.
The first mitzvah in the Torah is let there be light. So we are commanded. In everything you do, be a menorah, a bringer of light. Love with honor, act with integrity, do your work with passion, and the radiance of your deeds will live after you. May our ideals burn bright, forever unextinguished, and may we live our lives like the flames we kindle, always stretching upward, striving for the good, reaching for you.
If you're able, please rise. Shana Tova, you may be seated. Just for a moment, though. So tonight, again, I hope all of you have a machzor. If you don't, go ahead and grab one, or David will come around with one for you. We're going to be using this machzor tonight. We're going to be using it on Yom Kippur. But then tomorrow morning, we're going to be using our own compiled, edited CBS Rosh HaShana morning machzor, which I hope that you will like. I think it's wonderful. We only have it because we have Puck, and Puck put together this incredible, this amazing design and editing job, and we worked together to compile it from many different sources. And I anticipate, that hopefully you will enjoy it, and you'll bring us back your comments about it. But for tonight, we use our old standard, and we begin with the Baruch Hu, the call to worship, on page 18. Please rise if you're able. La 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 You may be seated. Let's read responsively Ma'ariv Aravim on page 19. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the dusk of evening.
Your wisdom opens the gates of dawn. Your understanding regulates time and seasons.
The stars above follow their appointed round in response to your divine will.
You create day and night. You alternate darkness and light.
You remove the day and bring on the night. You separate one from the other.
We call you Lord of the heavenly hosts. You are our living God.
May you rule over us as you rule over nature. Praised are you, Adonai, who brings the evening dusk. El Chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. With everlasting love you have loved your people Israel, teaching us the Torah and its mitzvot, instructing us in its laws and judgments. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we shall speak of your commandments and rejoice in your Torah and mitzvot. Page 20. Tasir mimenu leolamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom ha'levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shiftecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha. Page 26. Leman tizkeru v'asitem ekol mitzvotai
Vitem Kedoshim Lelohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher Hotzeiti Etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot Lachem Lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet. I'm going to ask Mike Capon to come and again lead or just have you listen while he reads a lovely, again, reading from, reflection from Mishkan Tefillah, You Have Stayed.
You have stayed long enough in this place, God said. Time to go forward. Turn your face to the future. Believe that you can cross the sea and survive. Inside you is a Moses. Within you, Miriam dances, unafraid. Lift up your voice and sing a new song.
Thank you. Middle of page 28. Umahuto biratzon kiblu alehem Moshe uvnei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabah v'amru hulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh no rotihot osefeh malchutecha ra'uvanecha bokei hayam livnei Moshe zeli anu v'amru Adonai Eloch le'olam avad v'nemar kifada Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miyad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. Together on the bottom of page 31. Grant us, O God, your merciful protection, and in protection give us strength. And in our strength grant us wise discernment, and in discretion make us ever just. And with our love, O God, the love of you. Uveros aleinu sukat shlomecha, baruch atah Adonai, haporeis sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Page 33. Tiku v'chodesh shofar b'kesel yom hageinu ki chok liYisrael hu mishpat lelohei Yaakov. Sound the shofar on the new moon at the time appointed for our new year. Its observance is a law of Israel ordained by the God of Jacob. Page 34, Chasi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah b'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlik malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael b'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen amen Yehi shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam b'ulam me'amaya Yibarach v'yishtabach V'pa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasem, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal, shemei dekudshah berichu, le'ela ule'ela, mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alema, v'imru amen. We rise in body or spirit for the silent Amidah, which begins on page 36 and concludes page 47. After you have completed your Amidah, you may be seated. continue with a Kaddish Shalem on page 50. Yitkadav Shemei Rabba, Biamadi Brachirote Viamlik Malchute, Vachayachon of Yumecho, Nufchayit Kobe Israel, Ba'agalavis Makarivim Ru, Amen. Yeshmei Rabba Mevorak, Leolam Bulam Me'amaya, Yitbarak, Vishtabak Vitpa Arvish Ramavit Nasevit, Adarvit Alevit Alashmet Kudsha, Verihula Ela, Minko Berchata Vashirata, Tushbechata, Nakamata, Damiram Bemavim Ru, Amen. Tikabel Sloton, Uva Udakotol Israel, Kodama Vahonishmavim Ru, Amen. Yehesh Lama, Rabba Min Shemaya Vachayim Alina Vakol Yisravim Ru, Amen. Se Shalom Bim Roma, Fuyase Shalom, Alina Vyakol Yisrael, Vyakol Yoshvei Tevel, Vim Ru, Amen. Amen. Take a moment out to pray for those who are ill in our community, in our congregation, in our families, friends. This week on our Misha Bayrak list, we're thinking of Jordan Zadwick, Sheri Bora, Beverly Elster, Gina Elster, Maria Ruiz, Marcia Anderson, Ivan Wendell, Alfonso Horn, Rivka Yetabela, Yaria Bass, Robin Friedman, Helen Rivers, Jackie Pop Gibbons, Morgan Kuhel, and Linda Licker. Anyone else?
Linda Cabrillo, Oliver Snow, Peg Hannah. Malcolm Blackstown.
Barry?
Robert Del Real.
Phil?
Harriet Hyatt, Olkowski Elkins. Sam Rose.
Police?
Gregory Fox.
Wish them all, yes.
Ethel Capen.
Wishing them refuah shlema, complete healing of body and spirit. We will sing together the words of the Misha Bayrak prayer as written by Debbie Friedman. Misha Bayrak Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Imotenu, lay the source of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Beirach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. I've often been asked the question, what called you to become a cantor? To which I respond, I don't think I was called. I think I was nudged. Many of my non-Jewish colleagues do speak of being called to the clergy, specifically from God. And I'm always a bit in awe. What would that be like to actually hear that call from the Holy One, no less? We're going to read about one of our patriarchs who received that message loud and clear during this Rosh Hashanah, over the next 2 days, actually, second day of Rosh Hashanah. Our Torah portion on the second day begins with God speaking Abraham's name and Abraham responding, Hineni, here I am. Actually, Abraham is called 3 times during this episode. The first time it seems to be more of an answer to a roll call. Present. The second time, Isaac, upon seeing the firestone in the wood but no animal to be sacrificed, exclaims, Father. And Abraham's Hineni isn't even translated as here I am in the JPS translation. Rather, the English reads, yes, my son. As if Abraham suspects what his son is about to ask, like, what's going on, Dad? And is prepared to offer an explanation. God will see to the sheep for his burnt offering, my son. Finally, it is Malach Adonai, an angel or a messenger from God, who cries twice, Avraham, Avraham, poised with knife in hand. Avraham stops before plunging it into Isaac and answers once again, Hineni, as if to say, I'm committed to fulfilling God's request. Seemingly satisfied that Abraham is now ready and willing to sacrifice his son because God called him to, God spares Isaac's life. And just in the nick of time, no pun intended. In her article for the Boston area Jewish education program, Adina Davies notes that the word Hineni is found a total of 8 times in the Torah. So it's significant that in this one section alone, a mere 24 verses, it is spoken 3 times. She comments, Abraham's Hineni becomes increasingly important as each occurrence represents an inflection point in the narrative, moments of decision-making requiring action. Abraham's Hineni moments ask him to see what is unfolding around him because he is not really ready to confront it, unquote. Yet confront it he does. He doesn't question. He doesn't argue or plead. He just acts. Repeated 3 times, Abraham's Hineni is another way of saying, I'm ready, I'm willing, and I'm able. Now, I'm not going to focus on the motivation behind God asking Abraham to do something so heinous, or whether Abraham should have objected on moral and ethical grounds. That's already been the subject of a previous High Holiday sermon, which I'd be happy to share with you if you're interested. But rather, I want to explore this sense of certainty that Abraham possessed. The certainty that this was a call he couldn't ignore. A call that needed to be fulfilled, even if it was the last thing on earth he wanted to do. The certainty to know that things would be okay, even when his better instincts must have been telling him to run and hide. Dr. Erica Brown, the director of the Mayberg Center for Jewish Education and Leadership and associate professor of curriculum at George Washington University, notes that, quote, God speaks to many of our biblical leaders at times of vulnerability and struggle. God tasks them with the job of transformation, both of self and nation, and God waits for a response. And the response is often, Hineni, I am fully present in this moment in time and poised to take on my assignment, unquote. Now, although I think it's safe to say that none of us have ever been in Abraham's position, I imagine that there are times when we have all faced our own Hineni moments. And I just don't mean the scary ones. Perhaps you felt called to pursue a path that you believed to be your destiny. Or perhaps you were called to step up because no one else could or would. Did you accept the challenge with enthusiasm or reluctance, with doubt or fear, or with confidence and optimism? I have to admit, I proceeded down the path that led me to this bima with extreme caution. Growing up, I was never quick to say, Hineni, when asked to take on a position in which I had little to no experience. I had to think about it and receive a variety of opinions and advice and find out exactly what was required of me so I could be completely prepared. If I didn't think I'd be good at it, I wasn't ready to take a chance. Of course, that's not how jobs or life works. Success can't ever be assured. And comfort zones might provide temporary safety, but they don't provide room to grow. I think it's taken me longer than most to learn that. All I can say is, I did let one thing lead to another. So even though I wasn't necessarily called, I do believe, in a sense, I was led. I'm beginning my bat mitzvah year, my 13th year, at Beth Shalom. But this synagogue is also celebrating a big birthday this year, 40 years of existence. Although the path hasn't always been an easy one, we are still growing strong. And it's because so many of you had the courage to say, Hineni, here I am. In anticipation of this big milestone, I decided to ask the former and one future Beth Shalom presidents who have served since I've been here, what motivated them to stand up and to say, I'm here and I'm prepared? Or maybe just, I'm here. Linda Feinberg, Yael Sassley, Pam Sudbury, Stuart Snow, and upcoming President Mike Capon shared their thoughts. I was curious to find out what motivated them to take hold of the gavel, what their concerns and challenges were going in, and what they learned along the way. Their answers were as varied as their personalities. Here are their stories. Stuart said he wasn't asked to be president, he volunteered. For Stuart, this was indeed a calling. He said, quote, "We are all searching for our purpose. God brought me to Texas, and my purpose is Beth Shalom. It defines who I am. My friends, my foundation, my family are all centered here." Now, that didn't mean he didn't harbor any concerns. The first term, CBS still had 2 buildings and was carrying too much overhead for its size. Beth Shalom's financial survival was a serious concern. That and our growing membership. In fact, these were also the biggest concerns shared by each president I spoke to. Stuart also had the dubious distinction of hiring me, which I hope he hasn't regretted. And it was a learning curve for all of us. When asked what skills he felt were the most important for this role, he said, humility, the ability to put the interests of the congregation first, being a good listener, and having faith. He also mentioned how important it is to surround yourself with good leaders because decisions should never be made in isolation. Linda Feinberg recalls that at the time she considered the presidency, she was going through some challenges in her life and needed a distraction. I was excited about taking on the responsibility, she said. Now, I'm not sure I describe accepting time-consuming position of authority in a Jewish organization a distraction, but we are grateful that Linda felt this would be good for her. Still, I have to ask, Linda, wouldn't taking up knitting or gardening have been a bit less stressful? But Linda concurred with Stuart when it comes to leadership, you are only as strong as the people and board you are working with. Allow everybody to do their job. In other words, try not to micromanage. She also agreed that listening and hearing the needs of congregants was paramount. Yael Sassley added that people skills and knowledge of Jewish culture and our community are tools all leaders need in their toolbox. When Linda asked Yael if she was interested in the job, Yael admitted that being president of the CBS board was not a position she had ever thought to consider taking. She remembers, when presented to me, the thought piqued my interest, but I had doubts I could do it. After consulting a few other past presidents and with the support of Brent, I accepted. Now, Yael is not slow of speech nor slow of tongue, which, as you may recall, made Moses hesitate before accepting his role as leader of the entire Jewish people. But she is quiet of voice, and public speaking isn't really her thing. Yet, she took that leap and found her voice. Pam Sudbury had to have her arm twisted. She states, I was coerced by Yael. You can just hear her say that. I thought I would be too busy for the role, nor did I really have any desire, but she enticed me to take the job, she said. Yael, if you need to share with me your powers of persuasion because it could come in really handy in my job too. Pam added, I had been on the board long enough that I knew what to expect, and I knew my leadership skills from work would help me. I was ready for the challenge. In addition to the above-mentioned challenges of membership retention and financial stability, Pam was adamant about improving the website and shoring up building security by applying for a Homeland Security grant. Pam had the advantage of being in a leadership position in her job, so her skills, namely compassion, business acumen, professionalism, and the ability to make informed decisions, were already honed. She stated, Leadership is about balance and vision, understanding the big picture and working on the small things to achieve that vision. And it truly takes a village to make you successful. I couldn't have been successful without an amazing board behind me. And you need to love your synagogue and the congregants who support you. Mike Capon revealed, I have always said that the day I retire, I will give back to the congregation. As a member of CBS for almost 30 years, I have put off leading the congregation until now. Stuart, knowing me as well as he does, asked me upon retirement to join the board, a task that I felt I was happy to take on. Mike felt his leadership of the governance body in corporations and being able to listen attentively, engage in meaningful dialogue, be responsive to members and staff, prepared him for the challenges of synagogue leadership. Still feel that way, Mike? Good. However, neither Mike nor Stuart, who is now finishing up his second go-around as president, could have possibly predicted that a deadly global pandemic would test the limits of their capabilities. There was simply no rule book to refer to. But they certainly learned how to be adaptable, flexible, and creative as we transition to online services, programming, and teaching. They might not have signed up to see us through this devastating crisis, but the skills they have both brought to the table have enabled us to come through it so far. Another past president who embodies the Hineni spirit is Sharon Winokur of blessed memory. I remember that end of the year board meeting when we literally had no one slated to be president. The request was made and met with silence. We looked all around the room. Nothing. And then a still small voice said, okay, I'll do it. And we all responded to Sharon's Hineni moment with applause. As I listened to them, I thought, they might have all had different reasons for taking on this important responsibility, and they all brought their particular skill sets to the table, but their challenges and aspirations were remarkably similar. All were concerned with keeping the synagogue financially sound, retaining and expanding our membership base, and having a secure, safe space to grow. All had doubts about their ability to accomplish these goals. All agreed that deep listening, willingness to compromise, relying on others for counsel and guidance, and love for the congregation were all job requirements. I asked them what they were most proud of during their tenures. Stuart said, leading through a pandemic and helping to create the President's Council to share ideas, concerns, and best practices with the other area synagogue presidents. Linda, remodeling the existing school to be our sanctuary and being flexible when needed in the transformation process. Yael, bringing new people on the board, introducing conference calls for meetings, who knew that would be the precursor to Zoom, and getting us out of the red. Pam, it really started before I was president, but my proudest accomplishment is the synagogue building. I wanted to make the building something we could be proud of, and I hoped I accomplished this. And being able to improve building security. Most important is to make our congregants feel safe in our spiritual home. And Mike? To be determined. But Mike, I think you've already accomplished so much. You put so many hours into researching how to make our building safe as possible during the last year and a half. You've drawn up seating plans, tracked the trajectory of this virus from day one, supported the COVID committee in all the decisions that were made and continue to be made. It's not easy to say Hineni when so much responsibility comes with the job. Moses, our greatest leader, tried to convince God he wasn't leader material. He doubted himself countless times. He lost his patience with the people, but he never abandoned them. He stuck it out, even when things looked bleak. And he never even entered the promised land. I hope that despite all of the hardship he encountered, he felt that his efforts were, for the most part, successful. He brought the people as far as he could take them and then left them in the hands of his very capable successor, Joshua. I wonder if he was proud of his accomplishment. After all, leading 600,000 plus people out of slavery was no romp in the forest. This was a 40-year trek in the wilderness. True, he had divine assistance, but he oversaw the physical schlepping. I hope he felt that the journey was a fulfilling one. Our own Beth Shalom leaders shared how their experiences as presidents were fulfilling and helped them in their own lives as well. Pam made a lot of friends and learned to enjoy attending services again. Stuart learned how to lead services in Cantor and Haftarah. Yael honed her time management skills with family and other volunteer positions. Linda's growing confidence enabled her to pursue a new career. They have all given so much, but I think I can speak for them when I say they have also received so much back. And I have to say that we have another president sitting among us, Barry Goldfarb, who unfortunately just wasn't able to give me the feedback. He was gone and we kept missing each other. But I think we learned a lot from each other too. And I think we both changed and adapted and became more flexible. And I think you probably taught me a lot of that too, Barry. So I want to thank you for that. And
We learned from each other.
we did. We continue to. And another big accomplishment I feel they can all be proud of, having to deal with me. I've been so lucky and blessed to work with people who have helped me to grow as well. When I came into the picture, I had no experience leading a congregation solo, and they all offered me strong support and encouragement. I had to learn a lot about taking things slowly, making change gradually, and earning their respect and trust. We've had our differences, but we've all been able to communicate our concerns, respective needs, and feelings. I just love Pam's honesty in writing. She said, I was surprised at how strongly opinionated you would become and continue to be during my term. I had my share of discussions with various congregants and with you about it and tried to deal with it as best I could. I think it was a lesson for all of us, again, about balancing and how to be motivating and still be able to emphasize subjects that are important to us. You're still around, and we didn't lose any members, so I guess we did okay. Indeed. Oh, no, just tell me how you really feel, Pam. Another common conclusion our presidents reached: you can't please everyone all the time. Although we are a Reformed congregation, we are made up of individuals that come from diverse Jewish backgrounds. Making liturgical and religious decisions that everyone can be comfortable with is not easy. In fact, it's almost impossible. But making the effort to explain how those decisions were made hopefully promotes understanding, if not complete acceptance. Believe me, I'm fully aware that not all of you agree wholeheartedly, or even half-heartedly, with some of the issues I choose to speak about. But as I've said before, I'm willing to risk some pushback in order to bring awareness to causes I feel we as Jews should care deeply about. And I'm always willing to talk to you about why I feel that way. For me, fighting for equality, calling out injustice, and advocating for the needs of all human beings is the most important work I can do in my role as clergy. I have tried to answer Hineni during these times when it feels like our democracy, indeed humanity itself, is at stake. May we all have the courage to say Hineni this year. May we all be blessed with the ability to discern when that moment comes. It doesn't necessarily have to be a moment of crisis. It might present itself as an opportunity to do something that you always yearned to do or never envisioned yourself doing. It might challenge you to step out of your comfort zone, but it can also bring you unimaginable fulfillment. You can start close to home. Beth Shalom is 40 years old, and it could use your help over the next 40 years and beyond. Who knows? You may end up with that presidential gavel in your hand someday. Shana Tova. Mike, I'm going to call you back up to read our next reading, Inscribe Us in the Book of Life, by Rabbi Maurice Davis.
Enlightening. Inscribe us in the Book of Life. For us, the Book of Life has been reduced to words of casual welcome, spoken or written on cards. L'shana tova tikaveh. I always tika tevu. May you be inscribed for a good year. I always trip on that word. The book of life, I wonder, is that all it means today? When I hear those words to me have meaning. I do not see a ledger in the skies wherein my fate is written, signed and sealed, nor do I see some greeting cards bedecked with gaily colors, scenes, where on the bottom line, unvocalized, appears the words, HaShana Tova Tika Tevu. The book of life to me is a symbol. It says to me, you are recorded. What you say is more than words whispered into the wind. What you are is something more than pebbles on a beach. What you do has an effect.
Thank you. We turn to page 56 now and rise for Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'am v'romamanu mikol hashon v'kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'titein lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'yahava et yom hazikaron hazeh yom truah mikra kodesh zecher zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'achar taviotanu kidashta mikol hamim kivanu v'achar taviotanu kidashta mikol hamim udvarcha emet v'kayam lad baruch atah Adonai melech kol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael melech kol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael mekadesh Yisrael v'yom hazikaron baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh l'chaim. Please remain standing for the Aleinu on page 58. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol l'tei keduma li'otzer bereshit shelo asanu k'goyei ha'aratzot v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo sam chelkeinu lahem v'gor aleinu l'chol hamonam v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu nishmat v'mayim imal shinas v'goyim hakatuv b'torah tov ki Adonai Elohim b'shem mitachad ein od. Page 60. V'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech kol haaretz v'yom ha'hu yireh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Before we rise for Mourner's Kaddish, long list of yortsites to be observed this week. Normally, we just read these on Friday for that Shabbat. But because we are here, and some of these, people might be having yortsites tonight, I'm going to read this list of everyone, and then if you are among those people that's observing a yortzite, I invite you to rise. But first, I want to mention the yortzite of someone else, whose yortzite actually is this evening. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I found an article today by Rabbi Lauren Holtzblatt, who was the rabbi that presided at her funeral. If you all remember, if anyone watched that. She led the memorial services last year at the Capitol and the Supreme Court. She's the co-senior rabbi at Adat Israel Congregation in Washington, D.C. So I'm not going to read you the whole thing that she wrote. It's very nice, and I'd be happy to send it to you when the holiday's over. But I'm just going to read just a few words that she had to say. When I reminisce about the wisdom of Justice Ginsburg, who was my congregant and friend, I am reminded of the wisdom that she gave us not only in her legal rulings and powerful dissents, but in the way she lived her life as a mentor and teacher. She was truly the same person, fighting for the dignity of others in all aspects of public and private life. In the Talmud, Masechet Brachot, we are taught that ein tocho kiboro, a person whose inside is not like their outside, meaning that their external behavior does not reflect their inner character, is not given a seat in the great house of study. I have often thought of this teaching when watching how Justice Ginsburg lived her life. Her inside character matched the values she fought for in the world. And these values were embedded in how Justice Ginsburg interpreted the foundational documents of this country. She believed that the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution's 14th Amendment should guarantee human dignity for all, with an expansiveness that its framers could not have imagined. The essence of the Equal Protection Clause are the words, human dignity, she continued, that all humans are entitled to respect, and no person, because of who he or she or they are, because of their birth status, is any less human or entitled to rights. That is equal protection. Human dignity was a crowning value that showed up throughout the justice's rulings, writings, and relationships. This was one of the reasons that there was such an overwhelming feeling of loss when she died, for the country as well as for those of us who knew her personally. Justice Ginsburg was our crusader. And she ends by saying, as we mark the first yortzeit of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, may her eternal teachings, writings, and selfless acts be a well of strength for each one of us to pull on as we march forward to create a better world. May her memory be a blessing. The yortzites that we are observing this week at Beth Shalom: Jules Flack, William Schwartz, Pearl Singer, mother of Marilyn Allen, grandmother of Richard Allen, Stuart Weinstock, Molly Dickman, Fanny Dorfman, Martin Kirschbaum, Joseph Moskowitz, Zion Levy, uncle of Dina Lindell, Evelyn Preisler, Larry Thomas, I can't believe that's been a year, Pearl Anderson, David Feld, Samuel Jonas Katz, Irving Steinberg, Dorothy Eisenfeld, Marvin Kramer, father of Andrea Snow, Herbert Paul, and Sidney Steinberg. Are there any others serving yortzeit this week?
Dr. Concordia Angelo.
Thank you. Those who, yes, please.
Michelle Sobel and Vivian Sheri.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else that I missed? All those who are in mourning or observing a yortzeit, please rise. Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 64. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah B'alma Divrach Hirute V'yamlich Malchute B'chayei Chon V'yomei Chon Uv'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala Uizban Kari V'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mivarach Leolam Ulalme Almaya. Yit Barach V'ish Tabach V'yit Pa'ar V'yit Romam V'yit Naseh. V'yit Hadar V'yit Ale V'yit Halal Shemei Dekutsha Berehu. Le'ela Mikol Birchata V'shirata. Tushbechata V'nechemata. Da'amiran Bi'alma V'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbamin Shemaya. V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imromav. Hu Ya'aseh Shalom. Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. You may be seated. We add Psalm 27 to our worship tonight, and actually we've been adding this since the month of Elul began. It's a beautiful psalm, and they call it the Psalm of the Season, this High Holy Day, season of repentance. I'm going to ask Mike to come up and read one translation, a very beautiful translation by Richard Levy. So you're not going to find it, and this is a little bit different than the one on page 66 and 67, but certainly you can follow along in the Hebrew if you like, or the English in this page, or just listen to this translation that Mike's going to read.
Of David, Adonai is my light and my victory. From whom should I feel fright? Adonai is a stronghold of my life. From whom should I feel terror? When evildoers approach me in battle to feed on my flesh, my pursuers, my adversaries, they have stumbled, they have fallen down. If the camp encamps against me, my heart will not fear. If a war arises against me, in this I would trust. One thing have I sought from Adonai, how I long for it, that I may live in the house of Adonai all the days of my life, that I may look upon the sweetness of Adonai and spend time in the palace, that you might hide me in your sukkah on a chaotic day. Hide me in the hiding places of your tent. Raise me high upon a rock. Now my head rises up high above my enemies round about. And in your tent I'll offer offerings to the sound of truah. I shall sing and chant praises to Adonai. Hear, Adonai, my voice. I am crying out. Be gracious to me. Answer me. My heart has said to you, seek my face. I am seeking your face, Adonai. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my help. Do not forsake me. Do not abandon me, God of my deliverance. For my father and my mother have abandoned me, yet Adonai gathers me up. Make your path apparent to me. Guide me in the upright road because of those up ahead who lie in wait for me. Do not hand me over to the lust of my adversaries, for false witnesses have risen against me, puffing violently. Had I not the faith that I would see the goodness of God in the land of life, wait for Adonai. Fill your waiting with hope in Adonai. Let your heart be strong and of good courage, and wait hopefully for Adonai.
It's one of my favorite translations, and there's many of them. Before we conclude, I want to just sing a a beautiful one line from this psalm, Psalm 27. One thing I ask of Adonai, only that do I seek, to live in the house of Adonai all the days of my life. Achat sha'alti, one thing, me'ed Adonai ota avakesh, shivti beveit Adonai, kol yemei chayai. This is a beautiful setting by Chava Miral. I've sung it before. It's just one line, and just want to take a moment to share it with you. Achat sha'alti me'ed Adonai, achat sha'alti ota vakesh, shivti beveit Adonai, shivti kol yemei chayai, lachazot b'noam Adonai, uvaker b'heichalo, lachazot b'noam Adonai, to gaze upon the beauty of Adonai. Achat sha'alti me'ed Adonai, achat sha'alti ota avakesh. Before we conclude with the Yigdal, do we have any announcements? They're right here. I think they were. Here we go.
For the last time, HaShana Tova Tikatevu. So it's been a challenging year, but we are here. Some are live streaming in, others are in the sanctuary, and others are here in spirit. And this did not just happen. It took a community effort, and we are here. So on behalf of Stuart Snow and his board of trustees, I'd like to thank Cantor Allen for spiritually leading us through this beautiful service, and no doubt the service is yet to come. I know it was mentioned before, but I'm going to mention it again. Would like to thank Puck Glass for the hours and hours spent putting the text together, the document together that we will use tomorrow, and I guess on Wednesday as well. And this was just a really effort of the heart. So again, thank you. There's lots of acknowledgments. It doesn't seem like through this difficult year, but it took a lot of our community to make all this happen. I'd like to acknowledge the AV committee who made it possible to Zoom this year and to live stream. This includes Mark Lewis, Royal Daba, Stephen Cabrero, and Jordan Zadwick. Again, I'd like to also acknowledge the Ritual Committee for working with the Cantor to put together service procedures together with honors. Also like to thank Brent Sassley for leading the COVID Emergency Response Committee, which through the work of this committee defined procedures by which we could open and actually be here today and plan to be here tomorrow through this pandemic. Normally I don't read the names, but will tonight, of the people that donated the flowers, and that's because a lot of people are live streaming in and they don't have access to that information. So I will acknowledge Janet and Jerry Aronson and family, Joe and Rochelle Beckerman, Patricia Cushman, Norm and Tony Epstein, Jay and Linda Feinberg, Marianne Gaghagen, Marty and Debbie Goldsmith, Phil and Cookie Kabikoff, Mike and Susie Capon, the Lackman family, Amy and Phil Pelletier, Ellen Pincus, Stephanie and Richard Posner, Jeff and Michelle Rothschild, Randy and Trish San Antonio, Brent and Yael Sassley, Barry and Sharwin Schneider, the Snow family, Martine Thomas, and Ben and Fran Weiger. And I hope I didn't leave anyone out. Finally, I'd also like to acknowledge our board reps, ushers, and greeters for their help during the high holiday services. Tonight it was David Silverberg and David Merritt who were our ushers, and Larry Goodman was our greeter. So in Pam Sudbury's word, it takes a village. It's really true, and I guess in my view, it takes our community, and here we are. Stuart reminded me to communicate to all of you that our annual high holiday appeal is still ongoing, and please give if you have yet to do so. I'm not going to go through all of the, there's lots of things going on, but most important, tomorrow, Rosh Hashanah Day 1, services begin at 9:30 a.m. and Tashley service to follow Randall Mill Park. And Lisa Ryan will be the board rep for the service. On Wednesday, September 8th, second day of Rosh Hashanah, morning service again will begin at 9:30. So look to your emails and to the Beth Shalom announcements for other things that are going to follow this week and all the way to Friday Shabbat service, which Barry Goldfarb is leading on Friday. And Sheri is, Cantor Allen's going to lead on Saturday. Okay, more to come. Just a couple of final things. To all those who are live streaming, please bring in or pick up from us a brown bag filled with unperishables to be returned to CBS between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. They're outside in the hallway. I'd like to acknowledge Sisterhood for preparing go bags. We're not having an onig tonight because of the pandemic, but thought went into preparing bags of sweets to remind us of the holiday that we are observing. And also, don't forget to pick up your new calendar located in the foyer. And the last thing I'll mention is, I think most everyone has heard the 40th anniversary party, the Ruby anniversary gala party has been postponed until May 7th due to the pandemic. And we just wanted to find a time where hopefully no one would have to wear masks and people feel concerned about coming. So my wish is well written. It is, may your year be sealed today. May it be filled with love, peace, and prosperity. May the best things in life come your way. Have a happy and healthy new year.
Thank you, Mike. Shana Tova. We conclude our service with Yigdal on page 68. Yigdal Elohim Chai ve'yishabach nimsa ve'edel מציאותו, אחד ואין יחיד כייחודו, נעלם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו, אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף, לא נערוך אליו קדושתו, קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא, ראשון ואין ראשית לראשיתו, הינו אדון עולם וכל נוצר, יורה גדולתו ומלכותו, שפע נבואתו נתנו אל אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו, לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד נביא ומביט את תמונתו, תורת אמת נתן לעמו אל, על יד נביאו נאמן ביתו, לא יכל לפעל ולא ימיר דתו, לעולמים לזולתו, סופר ויודע סתרנו, מביט בסוף דבר בקדמתו, גומר לאיש חסד כמפעלו, נותן לראש הרע כרישתו, ישלח לקדמי משיחנו, לפדות מחכי קץ ישועתו, מתים יחייאל ברוב חסדו, ברוך עד שם תהילתו, מתים יחייאל ברוב חסדו, ברוך עד שם תהילתו. Shana Tova Tikatevu. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure sharing the beam with you.
Yeah, talk to Teresa, because that's definitely not such a great oversight at all. All right. I'm going to take my keys. What?
Since her mom died. Was that? It's been a year since
The sister.
Elisa's mom died?
Sister.
Sister. Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. This is Lynn.
Hello, Lynn.
We've met on Zoom.
Yes. Nice to see you in person.
Like your husband said, in 3D.
In